Journalists are like politicians. They use big words and say things that seem to make sense. A lot of them are idiots, and you certainly can't trust them.
Big cringe imposter Chungus.
And there is no journalist you can trust any less than the reviewer. A self-entitled person who believes that above all, their opinion is right, regardless of what the wider world actually thinks. For example, I'm of the opinion that Bethesda games are pretty shit. I've played a lot of them, and I hated them all. But the difference between me and an idiotic reviewer is that I would certainly never review one. You see, hindsight is 20/20. Which is why I decided to make it my personal mission today to go through some rather silly game reviews, be it overall scores or something dapper in the review itself, to show you that game reviewers don't always get it right and that you should always form your own opinion. Because as the saying goes, one man's trash is another man's treasure. Now hold your horses. I'm sure you're probably shocked to see me talking about this game, given its universal praise. I mean, it sits at a 97 on Metacritic. But there's the problem. I think it's a pretty well-known fact that people like to jump on the hate train, regardless of what it is they're hating. It's happening at the moment with the Suicide Squad previews. You've got one half of the internet tearing the game to shreds, and the other have launched a manhunt on anyone who's dared to criticise it. And the latter applies to one Stephanie Sterling, who dared to do the heinous act of giving Breath of the Wild a 7 out of 10. What? Now, to any normal person, this shouldn't really be a big deal. I mean, I think we're all guilty of playing a game that everyone won't stop talking about and just thinking, yeah, it's alright. But as we know, the internet is not full of normal people. And that Metacritic score I was on about, Stephanie's review affected that directly. You see, before Stephanie, or BS, Breath of the Wild was at a 98, which had it tied for the second best game on the website. But after submitting a review, it went down to a 97, which matters to some people apparently. So the citizens of the internet did the only thing they knew they could do: DDoS the site and basically just bully her. But what about the review itself? Well, it's a bit weird, if I'm honest. The main thing she bangs on about is that she didn't really like the foundations of the game. You know, things like the weapon durability, the towers, the stamina. And look, everyone's entitled to their own opinion, but personally, I think without these systems, the game kind of lacks any challenge or progression at all. I mean, a lot of people complain they didn't like the weapon durability, but in retaliation, I ask one question. Did you actually ever run out of weapons to use in the game? I mean, they're everywhere, you know? Plus, it lets you strategize. Do you want to save your better weapons for later, or do you want to use them now? Do you want to use the heavy weapons? Do you want to use the light weapons? If you prefer heavy weapons, would you rather use the light weapons now so that later on you can use the heavy weapons against harder enemies? It just adds a little bit of thought into the game, I think. Ubisoft towers, yeah, a lot of games have them, but if you can figure out a better way to unlock fast travel, you let me know. And the stamina, yeah, I get it's a problem early on in the game, you know. Do I want an extra heart because I suck at the game? Or do I want stamina so I can get places quicker and just be a bit more aggressive? These are the systems that make Breath of the Wild such a special game. I mean, I'm going to be biased. I've got a tattoo from it on my arm. But that's what Link's journey is all about, you know. You start the game as a puny baby, and you end it as an unstoppable force of nature. And between you and me, I wouldn't trust Steph anyway. She's got a history of controversial reviews. Cuphead is just like Dark Souls. It's a hard game for pretty much anyone. My little brother saw the Netflix series and asked me if he should play the game, and I looked at him and just thought,
You are not ready.
but surely a game reviewer, someone who's paid to play video games, should be able to get through it. Enter one Dean Takahashi, a journalist for GameBeat who is famously terrible at the game. He stated in his preview for the game that he doesn't play platformers. You know, those games kids play. He struggled to get past the tutorial and sucked at the rest of the game, despite his 25 years of game experience. Now look, the game is hard. I've played it myself, I can attest to it. But should we cut him some slack? Well, I think I've devised a little method of figuring that out. So this is Georgia. Georgia's my girlfriend. She's by no means a seasoned gamer. Hello, Seb. But she's played a couple games. Fortnite, we play a bit. We finished It Takes Two together. Yeah, she has a bit of experience, but no means, you know, someone who's qualified to play video games for a living. So we're going to see if she can do the tutorial any quicker than Dean. And if she can, then I'll give her a hug. I don't know. Yeah, 3, 2, 1, start.
Right, that's easy.
Very good. She's figured out the dash. Yep. All right. We've already cleared that much quicker than Dean.
We've got to get the target.
Unconventional way of doing it, but yep, still works. I mean, you're making great time so far. I can't lie. Yep. Parry. Very good. Very good. Skip past the ghost. Who cares?
Oh, do I need to do that?
No. You know what? You've got time. It's fine. Do it. Very good. Very good stuff. That's where he is right now.
Not even past the first hurdle.
Well, what have we learned?
He's a loser.
He's a loser. Maybe we should get you as a games journalist. Well, it's looking like slack will not be cut. A terrible performance by Dean, and he was absolutely blown out of the water by Georgia. I think it might be his time to hand in his resignation. But don't worry, GameBeat. I think I know someone even more qualified to do the job. Spider-Man Miles Morales is an open-world action-adventure game taking place just after the events of Spider-Man PS4.
The way he leaps off of rooftops and flips backwards to face the camera before falling into a headfirst dive is just full of the exaggerated swagger of a black teen. It gives me goosebumps every time he does it.
Eh? You know, I've seen this clip loads, I'm sure you have too, but I still can't get out of my head what compelled him to say that, and how did it make it into the video? For reference, outside of YouTube, whatever you see here, my actual job is a video editor, so I kind of know how the process goes. This would have been scripted, and someone would have approved that script, then someone would have recorded the audio, then an editor would have put the audio to the footage and made it all nice and nice, then it would have been shown to someone else again for approval, and you're telling me that no one, not a single soul, thought, that's a bit weird. Thank God that the man who reviewed this is not white, because it would have been a lot worse for him. The Alien movies are a franchise I hold very dearly. I love every single entry, even Resurrection. The game series, however, has not had the same look, and boy have they tried. So when Alien Isolation was said to be being made, it's fair to say people didn't have a lot of hope. But then we got a look at the game, and it looked nice. Think of Outlast, but in space. So naturally, Alien fans like myself were very excited for this release, and a day before the game came out, the review embargo got lifted.
It may seem strange to complain that a game's too long, but when the genuine scares of being hunted by an unstoppable predator are so diluted by repetition and padding, Isolation's epic length really does work against it.
Bullshit. I nearly cancelled my pre-order. Look, I was 14 at the time, I got £50 pocket money a month, and that's how much the game cost, so it was a big purchase for me. But for some reason, I just thought something was fishy, so I held off on cancelling my pre-order. And boy am I glad I didn't, because this game is superb. And nobody knew what IGN were on about. I mean, all you got to do is take a look at the comments, and you'll see that people did not agree. But what was it that warranted such a low score? First thing was frustrating AI in relation to the alien itself. They thought the alien was too hard. Yeah. That's kind of the point. It's a survivor horror title. For long periods of the game, it's just you and the alien, and it is relentless. It's constantly stalking you, just like in the movies. You're never safe from it. You're definitely not going to kill it. The question really is whether or not you're going to make it. And that's the best part of the game! Hey, maybe IGN were happy with the dogshit state of AI in other games, but I wasn't. And if you've got one major enemy with you the whole game and it's an idiot, you're gonna notice, and it's gonna make the game loads less fun. But because it isn't, there's so many great scary moments, and they're not even scripted. The game just makes them for you with the systems they've set up. Look, I'm not a coder, I'm not a game dev, so there's no point in me trying to explain it to you. But there's this really good video that deep dives into how the AI of the alien actually works throughout the game, and it just cements how sophisticated it is. So if you're complaining about how the core systems of the game are too good, it's probably not a valid point. They say the game has poor pacing, which to an extent I can kind of understand, but if it was just you and the alien the whole game, it would get really boring really quick, so segments like that android graveyard kind of thing are welcome. And finally they say it loses the fear, which I can kind of see as well, as near the end of the game you are dealing with quite a lot of aliens. But I really like this. It felt like a purposeful choice in my opinion. Almost like for most of the game you've been playing through the first Alien movie, and by the end you're kind of playing through aliens, taking the fight to them. And the set pieces throughout the game are just crazy. Near the end you get to go outside the ship and all the aliens are swarming you. It's just so fucking cool. No, you know what? I'm striking that. I don't think it loses the fear at all. If anything, it just gets more scary, more chaotic. It just overwhelms you. I'm getting really nostalgic talking about it. And if you haven't played this game because you saw the bad reviews, please, I beg you, give it another shot. Can I go longer than one video without talking about Arkham City? I think not. For me, this was the game that really started it all. The game that made me realise you could play more than just Lego games and FIFA. This game had it all. Killer story, amazing map, great combat, great voice acting. I could go on, right, but I don't want to make one of them 8-hour retrospectives. The Video Game Donkey did not like this game. At least I think. It's hard to know when he's being serious in his videos, but as far as I can tell, I don't think he likes this game. He complains he doesn't like Batman jumping around so quick, to which I say, he's Batman and he has done a lot crazier things. He says the combat's too simple and easy, which he demonstrates by doing this.
There's a fight going on over there.
I've seen other people complain in a similar manner. A review from Worthaby comes to mind about Arkham Knight, but they only ever use footage from the start of the game before they introduce shield enemies, baton enemies, knife enemies, armoured enemies. Those require a different approach and you can't get away with just spamming one button. Also, I know when you boil it down, the combat is quite simple. It's a couple of buttons, but it's made so you can be flashy with it. I mean, what looks more fun? This? Or this? I rest my case. You remember how I said the Alien series didn't have very good luck with games? Alien Resurrection for the PS1 was a movie tie-in game that released 3 years after the film of the same name. GameSpot gave it a 4.7 out of 10, stating the game's control setup is its most terrifying element. But what about the controls were so terrifying? Well, I'm going to give you 10 seconds to answer, and if you can't get it right, then maybe consider liking, subscribing, all that crap. Okay, starting now. If you said anything other than using the right stick to aim your gun, I'm afraid you're wrong. Yep, the review score is so low because they didn't like using the control scheme that was adapted by every modern shooter since. Love it when things age like a warm glass of milk. And to make matters worse, at the end of the review they state, if you're looking for an Alien first-person shooter, you're better off waiting for the upcoming PS2 title, Colonial Marines. So those are just a few examples of when game reviewers fucked up. I hope you learnt a valuable lesson today. And if you see a review of a game you disagree with, think this: my opinion is right, and I don't care what other people think. Now I'm starting to sound like a games journalist myself, so before I get any stupider, see you in the next one.